Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the new Substance TrackMania series by MCYC. Today, we're gonna kick this off on the first episode with a tutorial in which I'm going to show you how you can set up your Substance project manually if you want to make a TrackMania skin. So we are in the program right here, and you can see I already have the car in here, but how did I do this? I'm gonna close this project right here, and now you can see I'm basically at a welcome screen. You maybe have seen that you can change the interface just how you want. You can drag and drop all of these windows around and put them where you want. So when I'm using one of these windows, I'm always saying the name. Alright, let's get the model into the program. So for this, we're gonna click on File and create new click on new for a new project. Here you have to select the car model, which is in the archive in the description. I've updated it just before this tutorial, and you should use the stadium car offset fix. The previous one had a little bug which wasn't breaking the overall game, but it was kind of dumb. Alright, for the document resolution, you can leave it on 2K or change it to whatever you want. Remember that you can change it every time later on again, and Substance will upscale your textures automatically without any resolution loss. So this is pretty good. You can even just upscale it on export, so just leave it on a resolution which you think is fine and also works with your setup. We're gonna leave the normal map format at DirectX, not OpenGL. And all you have to do now is just click OK. Then you're gonna have to wait a little bit, and there you have it. There is the car skin. With F, you can center the view at any time. And with the F1 to F3 keys, you can switch through the different view modes. Alright, shift and right click changes the rotation of the environment, which is essentially your studio light. Okay, let's continue with setting up this project. Now you can see we have the 4 different materials or texture sets here in the texture set list. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the shader on the glass. So I'm gonna click on the main shader and say new shader instance. Now the next, you can open the shader settings, which is this little ball, and we're gonna change the shader to PBR metal rough with alpha blending, so we get the transparency. I'm gonna rename this here. You don't have to do this. And now you can see we have main shader and we have a glass shader right here. Alright. Next up, we're gonna set up the channels in the texture set settings. And here you can see we also are able to change the resolution. So this is basically the place where you are able to change the resolution at any time. And so what we're gonna do now, we're going to set up some channels. We got already the base color, we got the metallic, and we got the roughness. We got the normal height. So what's missing? Missing is the emissive. Emissive is essentially the elimination for your car. And what we're gonna add as well, but this is something a little bit more special, which we're gonna go through in some tutorials later on, is we're gonna add user 1. Or user 0. I'm just gonna use user 0, and I'm gonna rename this to dirt mask. So this is what we're gonna do for all the other texture sets, but for glass we need to add a opacity channel. So we're gonna click on this plus right here, and we're going to add opacity. There we go. Now we're gonna add the emissive as well. and the user 0 and rename it dirt mask. Alright. Do this for all the other texture sets. Create the emissive and the user 0 and name it mask map or dirt mask. And when you have done this, we can check out on how to set up the emissive or elimination layers. Alright, let's check. We got it on details, we got the opacity on glass as well, we got skin, we got it all, wheels. Alright, so the next step would be to maybe set up some layers, but before that I want to bring to your attention that you can import the original textures, which are also in the archive file I uploaded for you. So if you go to the folder where the original textures are, you see that there are a bunch of DDS, but I think I also convert them to PNG and not DDS. Alright, so all you have to do is open your shelf with all the basic materials and stuff like this, and just drag and drop all your texture files in here. They have to be in PNG. Substance can't read DDS files. Alright, now this window pops up, and here you can just hold the mouse and drag it down to select all of them, and you can now give him a tag. A tag, so you find it in the shelf again. Next up, we're gonna set this as a texture, and you can import it to the project, to your shelf, or just the current session. I'm just gonna import it to the current session. You're probably gonna import it to the project. Alright, we click import, and now you can see you have all these textures here in the shelf. So if I open it, I always will have the different textures right here. I'm gonna resize the shelf window a little bit, and I can use them. Alright, so if you want to have the default textures as a base layer, some sorts of this, what you're gonna have to do, we're gonna create a fill layer for this. And in this fill layer, you see you have the different channels down here in the properties of this layer. And what you can do now is just simply drag and drop these textures onto the different channels. So we got wheels B for base color, and there you go, you can already see the result. We got the dirt mask, which is going into the dirt mask essentially. Well, you don't really need this, we can check this out later on. I'm gonna drop this into the normal channel. This is some sort of gonna drag this in the height channel. That gives a better result. Alright, and next up we got the roughness. There you go. So there's no metallic on these wheels, it's just plain roughness. And we get even the ambient occlusion. Well, we're not gonna use this for now, because there is a problem with the ambient occlusion and the normal. You can just use apparently either one of them if you want to make a custom skin. Right, next we're gonna switch to all the different texture sets and gonna do the same again. So we are here at the details tab, and now you can see we got an eye for illum, and we're gonna just drag this into the emissive channel. And details metal and rough, or basically I split it into metallic and rough. So I'm just gonna drag it here and the roughness over here. So I already split these textures for you. This goes into the height channel. And now to the glass. And here comes a tricky part with the opacity. So the opacity, as I can show you, is there of course to make things transparent. So you can see if I do something on this slider, you can see that it becomes more and more transparent. So what I'm gonna do is using the illum on this layer, basically the original illum texture. Therefore, I'm just gonna drag and drop this, and now you can see that it became transparent. But I think this would be a little bit too transparent. But first, let's continue with drag and dropping the different textures. So you can see we only have like 3 textures. We would have the ambient occlusion still left here, but we are not gonna use the ambient occlusion. So I'm gonna disable the height, normal, dirt mask, and metallic and roughness on this layer. What we could also do is put the emissive on here, and as you can see, we don't really get a good result from the opacity channel or some sorts. This is because you have to kind of tweak it a little bit. If you put the diffuse onto this channel, you can see, well, you get a better result with this. But I like to kind of use the illum, but you can also leave it to the opacity. I'm gonna put a extra layer. Oh, I have to repeat I guess I've repeat myself a little bit here. Yeah, just put down the diffuse onto the opacity, and it will use this alpha channel. You can also use the roughness to still give it a little bit more of a smooth glass look, you know, make it more reflective. But like this, you get like a good result which you can work with. Wow, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tone down the opacity a little bit. Basically a little bit pull down on a layer below, and now on the layer tab right here, I'm going to the opacity channel, and I'm gonna reduce the intensity on the right side a bit, just like to 55. This is something, or 55 or 50. This is something you just have to do for the viewport right here in Substance, so you get a better result how it will look in the game somewhat. Alright, now I'm gonna put those 2 in a folder. Here we go. And next up, we still have skin left, so I'm gonna make a new fill layer right here and use the shelf again to drag and drop these textures in here. So we got skin base color, we got the dirt mask, we got the illum, the roughness, and the ambient occlusion, which we don't really need. You can also leave the roughness out of this, and yeah, you just play around with it with the sliders yourself to get a nice basic look. Alright, this is how you set up your project. Now that you have imported all these things, the last thing you would have to do, or you can do, or should do, maybe probably, is just create a empty layer, activate symmetry, and check if it is actually symmetric, because the skin has a little offset, which isn't possible to fix in a easy way. And you can see we don't have this a perfectly symmetry. So what we're gonna do is we go to the symmetry settings above here, and we're gonna put in minus 0.0002. And now you can see it fixed it. This is now perfectly on the symmetry, and you won't have any problems anymore when it comes to any symmetrical things. It would be just some pixels, but still it wouldn't be perfect, and we want to have a perfect result, of course. Alright, now you can disable the symmetry again, and if we come to skin, for example, right here, I'm gonna make a new empty layer and activate the symmetry. You can see the setting is still there. If you save this project, it will save also your symmetry settings. It will save all your settings you have inserted or added, made. So don't worry about that. Alright, the next step you probably would do would be to change the environment. For this we go to the display settings right here and just change the environment map. I tend to use Studio 2, which gives a neutral light and yeah, and some pretty good reflections. You can also change the opacity. Here you can see it, or even the blur. And this is basically how you set up your TrackMania project for Substance. One last thing you could do is increase the emissive intensity. You can see it already right here. And yeah, you can also activate the post process. It's just here in the viewport, a little glare, change it to bloom, something like this, and then play around with the emissive intensity slider, so you get a understanding on how this thing will look in the game. Alright, so for the next episode we're gonna take a look at the illum layers and how to set up these, also how to transport them from one texture set to another, and how to work with them. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and I hope I will see you in the next time. Bye bye.